Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today we are back to give you a little bit of an insight look into Server 2. Mainly what we're going to be focusing on is taking you through Zone 1 in kind of a quick snapshot and letting you know how it's playing out thus far. Meaning, what are the top alliances? How are just some of the things happening? Kind of a status update. So we're going to show you some stats too as well. I'm big on spreadsheets whenever I have time to do them. So we're going to kind of show you top down who the strongest is right now. And then again, just give you a little insight on what is exactly happening. So again, as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you sub, like, ring the notification bell. And of course, if you want to join and be a part of our conversation, hit up the Discord. You can find a link to that in the pinned comment description right down below. Okay, so we're going to start with, I guess we can start with Kaltia. Not Kaltia, excuse me. We'll start with Nuvola, which is this region here. So kind of going top, I guess left to the right, right? So Inna 1 was one of the alliances, original alliances here in the region. Ended up getting pushed a little in here from EVG, as you can see them expanding. Previously they were in, I believe it's Sofrostia, Sofrostia, I believe. so you enunciate that one. And then we had another alliance that was around here. I think it was Fate, or sorry, this was us at NASTi. That's kind of where you see GRZ, Arch, and then I think it's EMP once we get a little bit south, right? So it was kind of there. Fate was a little bit more expanded. We had AFO, they've actually still been there as well. PF, :2 is another alliance that was there. These two at the bottom were there too as well. And then we end up getting over here to the Darlin region, right? So you have Darlin, which is DAW, Dark Warriors family. You can see a bunch of their numbers there, right? DAWL is pretty big. Then we have DAW5, DAW2. You have us over here, NAST. We ended up moving there. And I think we said DAW2, then we have DAW, which is right here. And DAW3, you can see. So again, right, some of the bigger alliances. Then we ended up getting over here to, oh gosh, I think this is Forgotten Lands, if I have that correct. So you have GRDI, which is probably the biggest here in that area. Again, followed by, oh gosh, let me see, who do we have next? DSP, I think, was one there. FB-I. Then we ended up having, oh gosh, let's see here. Who else did I have that was pretty big around the area with that? Oop, I actually think I already went. Yeah, I did go past level 1. SGI2. And then, oh god, I have to follow this line here. EMPA was another one, right? So again, some of the big ones there, and you can see, right, not the region, the Zone 1 kind of regions are still somewhat decently populated because we're not that far in to the season currently. I think it's still less than 20 days old. So then we end up going into the next region here, which is Zoland. Okay, good. I had to make sure I remembered that one correctly. And you can see the level 1 pass going on there. Let me see. So here we end up having, I think, TA, which is one of the big alliances that they have there. I think EPS, if I have that. No, sorry, TD is one of the other ones here that you can kind of see in purple. And then as we work our way a little east, BG is one of the other big alliances, and ATM is another one of the big alliances. Then we end up getting over here to, oh, where am I at? Burning Lands. I have to remember these two. And then we have red here, which is BG. They had actually expanded, but they're originally from here. OVS is another one that's pretty decent size. And again, we'll give you guys some numbers too as well here in a bit and show you the spreadsheet. Then we got BGA, BGW. Again, I think we had already mentioned here for BGS, OVs over here. So again, right, some of the decent ones. And then we end up getting over here to, this is Kaltia. I think we have 2 left. Excuse me. And then we have PKO2. We have DWD here. And then once we get over to the east, we have OWO or OWO. We have, I think there was DWD again there. And I think that might cover the majority of it that we end up having. Yeah. Okay. Then we end up getting over here into the last region, which is Sofrostia. And here we have GRZ, which is one of the main alliances. 1V we have. And then as we start working our way west, EVG is another one. And then we start kind of going north. We have, second one for EVG, and then EMP is the last one as far as the big ones in the region. So let me kind of give you a little bit of what's been happening so far. So originally we actually started over here in Caltia. I think this is the region. Yeah. So we were here in Caltia, and we were kind of right around here. And you ended up having a couple big alliances that were basically all just around this area. And we ended up moving actually up here over into Nivola. Now, as we mentioned before, right, in one of the videos, with alliances, you can't necessarily just switch regions, right? So you can see this here, right? They're in Caltia. That's kind of where they're based. So if I wanted to move to another region, I have to move to an alliance there. I can't take my alliance. So the only way to actually move your alliance from one designated region is by capturing a pass and moving everyone over there. The challenge is that if you want to have people join your alliance, they can only join it if their account is in that designated region. We'll probably do a side video on that. So it's again very interesting how they go about it. But that ended up happening. You can see some of the people that ended up taking over here. Now, not a lot of alliances have really gone through their level one passes, right? Like you have passes that have been capped. There's 2 here, but you can see like BGS hasn't really gone out. BG really only went out to take 1 thing, right? So nothing really intense there. When we look at another region, you can see here with, I think this is ATM. Let me double check. Yeah, so like ATM, right, came up. They've taken 1 thing so far, right? But haven't really been, they haven't really been kind of going hard in the paint, so to speak. Really haven't passed through that one, through that level 1 pass. I think it was just 2 there. And then we go north here, right, and you got DAW who has, right, they've actually gone through a decent bit, and they went through and took 3 behemoths down there. And then you have here, this was GRDI took this one, and then I think DAW took this top one as well, right? So they're probably contending against GRDI there. And then we go west over here for Darlin / Nivola. And we did have a pass. EMP took this pass, and then I think DWL has this pass for 1, and then these 2 haven't been capped yet. And then we go over here to, I think, the last one, which is going into Sophrostia. You have EVG that's taken a pass. Again, they've built in decently here into Nivola, right? They're prime, probably looking to take the Giant and then this Thunder Rock up here north. From Inna, they've already taken 1, and they're just currently building out. EMP took the pass, but they really haven't built out, mainly because in Nivola, this is probably the most heaviest contested region so far, which, again, for those of you who watch some of my content, you probably know that this region ended up getting, for the most part, pretty much taken over by alliances that were in Sophrostia and then also in Caltia, right? Because we have, I think it is Caltia, yeah, because it's a woo. So you'll end up seeing this here, right? And I'm going to show you 2 things, which is pretty interesting. So you'll see EMP initially came in, and you can see here they've placed a flag. They ended up going, and they're building out now in this area as well, going and taking. GRZ, another one of the big alliances, is out here going and taking. And then you end up having EMP placing another fort here, another level 1 pass. This is so their allies could get access to the Darlin region, right? So here's Darlin. This is where we ended up moving to. Something interesting here that you can see that's happening is that DAW, this is their center fortress, I believe. Alliance fortress. Ooh. Hang on, let me see here. I think they moved it. Yeah, that's the core. So again, moved the core, but here's the second fort. And you can see that in this situation, PKO2, a strong alliance, and OWO, right, or OWO, another strong alliance, have moved here to pretty much cut off this fortress, which, respectfully, the moment they do, right, all the flags and everything will pretty much go inactive, right, because DAW has moved their core fortress. So it's, I don't know if they finished building yet. Let's take a look. So they might have actually. Let's see here. Wow, yeah. So it looks like they did build their core fortress. I don't know where they're, let's see where they're flagging. Okay, yeah, so they're actually, you can see here they're working on a flag now, right? And what, 31 minutes until That one's done. So it looks like they're probably going to go south here, maybe try and cross the river somewhere and come up through a pass. Most likely just because of the position that they're here, it's probably was difficult for them to get all the way in. PK2 might end up just going northwest, which would be my assumption. So yeah, so you can see they finished their core fortress. Looks like they're building out. Like they got a lot of people. A lot of people. Look at those hammers go, baby. Those hammers go in. They got 17 minutes until theirs finishes, and you end up seeing just players going back and forth. Now, right, this is kind of what you're seeing happening, right? So you kind of have two regions that are really starting to kind of enact their will onto the server, with one region in Nivola being invaded first. That was the first big one in S2, and now Darlin is being invaded. Now, it is going to depend on, obviously, what they do, because part of me was shocked that, you know, the rebuild that we did in Darlin isn't getting hit yet. There's still a chance it could get hit, but seeing that they're initially focusing on DAW, now I'm not sure exactly why they're going for DAW, just as much as I'm not sure why they ended up attacking us and NAST. Obviously, I might make a side video to talk about some of the conversations surrounding that, but you know, the fact is just like myself or NAST and DAW, right? I would imagine, you know, these are participating, contributing alliances to the regions. I don't know what conversations have had or what things have been said about the DAW family for, you know, kind of why you'd see EMP, OWO, PKO2 going for them. But again, that's, you know, if we find that out, it'd be interesting to talk about. So for me, I could really only speak for myself in this regard, is as most people know, even if you read our alliance board, you know, everything that we have is, you know, what do we say? We say like a nap everyone, and we just have allies. But just because we're allies, you know, doesn't mean that we're going out there and wanting to, you know, attack or bully anyone, so to speak. That's just not really our gameplay. But the thing is that, you know, alliances play the game out differently. So I just thought it was interesting to kind of show you guys this. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you is the spreadsheet, and then we're going to have to go. So here we go. Here's the strongest alliances right now in S1, or sorry, S2, I meant. Yeah, well, we'll rename this. Oh, I'm not going to be able to. Watch, hang on, we're going to do this. Let's do S10. I'll switch this to S1, and then we'll go back here, and we'll do S2. Sweet. So, again, this is S2, and you can see here, right, 282.6 mil. This is strongest for EMP. 225.3 for OWO Panda HUD. They're in Kaltia. TA, the Avengers, Zolan, 202. Right, so we got 3 alliances over 200 mil. 1 EMP nearing close to 300 mil. Then we have a couple more, right? Look, you have, what's this number here? What is that, 7? 1? No, it's not 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? 9 alliances that are over 100 mil. 12 that are over 100 mil. And again, these are pretty close somewhat in power, but you can kind of see, you know, some of the standouts, right? Like Sophronia. You have 4 alliances that are over 100 mil, 1 over 200 in that area. Then we have Kaltia, 3 alliances there that are over 100. 2 of them almost a second close to getting there to 200. You got 1 in Darlin. Then I think we had Forgotten Burning. Right, so again, a little more spread out, but you can see here Sophronia and Kaltia kind of being the 2 powerhouse regions just based on the top 12 alliances for ones that are over 100 mil. So it'll be interesting to see if that's kind of the game plan that we end up looking at here for how those 2 regions and some of these top alliances are going to end up playing the kingdom out. One of the things, you know, I will say here towards the end is something to kind of be very cognizant of and aware is that when you are playing any kingdom builder, right, there's always going to be pros and cons, right, give and take, repercussions for any actions that are taken. And usually, and I'll probably dive more into this in a specific video, but usually when you are playing kind of more the aggressive, where we're just going to kind of go out and attack anyone and everyone that we decide or we deem, the challenge is that now these alliances are kind of have this MO, right? There's this label attached to them, regardless if they wanted it or not. Because now the image is that, oh, well, they'll just go wherever they want. They'll attack anyone and everyone if they so choose. And you just don't know who's next, right? Now, I don't know what the communication was like between INA, some of the other alliances in Nivola when we were there. And I don't know what the conversations were like, if there was communication ahead of time, if maybe there was bad blood or something that started the whole, hey, we're going to attack these alliances in that region. Now we're going to go after DAW in Darlin. I can speak for myself, which is that no one communicated with us, right? No one reached out and said, hey, are you hostile? Hey, are you planning to attack us? Just nothing at all. And I'll do a video to cover that at a later time to dive into some of the specifics. But I can tell you wholeheartedly that there were a few conversations, but it was always, hey, we're going to get back to you and we'll let you know what we plan to do. No one ever got back to me to let us know. We just kind of woke up one day and we started hearing these whispers of, hey, EMP is going to come and attack NAST, and GRZ is going to attack these alliances, and it just kind of happened. Right now, let me be specific. Right, I'll apply some realistic expectations. This is a war game. They do not have to give us the courtesy. They do not have to reach out to anyone. Players and alliances can choose the way they want to play. But what I will say is that if you are going to reach out to someone and then you tell them, hey, I'll follow back up with you, and then you do not follow back up with someone, right, that's a hit against you and your integrity and your word, because you put that out there in the first place. The better approach would have just been to not say anything, don't communicate with anyone, and then do your thing, right? Because then at least you're consistent. So for me, that's my only thing. And I'll probably dive into that later. But I will say this, if the server continues the way it is, you're gonna end up just having, just like any, right, you basically kind of have EMP becoming this mega alliance. OWO is kind of there too as well. Avengers is somewhat less than that, just because they're closer to 4, 5, 6, and 7 in the rankings, right? Really, Empire is kind of breaking out because they have pretty much almost a 60 mil lead on number 2. Number 2 only has about a 23 mil lead on number 3, and then number 3 has about a 25 mil lead on number 4. So again, you can see number 1 from 2 is branching out really far, and this typically happens when you run kind of mega alliance structured alliances in a kingdom, right? Usually what happens is you just bring in the strongest players, the people that spend the most, and you say, hey, come and join our alliance because we have a bunch of spenders. We're basically recruiting the strongest players, and that's what it turns into. But the challenge is that once these people start spending and they're leveling their accounts, most of the time, usually what happens is they get to a point where they're PvP hungry. And so now you're just kind of looking for targets. But the challenge becomes, if this continues, right, let's preface that, if it continues down the path it is and they keep invading regions and attacking, you'll be left with, typically what usually happens in these types of kingdoms is you'll be less with lower activity, more players quitting, more players leaving, and then when you finally get to season 2, right, you're not going to have as many people here. Why? Because migration isn't available yet. You're probably not going to have a high level of players creating fresh new accounts in the kingdom. So over a period of time, you're really kind of killing off activity faster than you are sustaining it, right, for longevity purposes. Now, if you don't care about that, and you're fine with there just being a few alliances left in the kingdom at the end of the day, and you don't really plan on kind of sustaining the kingdom for a long period of time so you can play multiple seasons together, and maybe you're just going to end up migrating or leaving out, then, again, right, it is what it is. But these are just things to really keep in mind because there's a lot more at stake. It's really easy to kind of put the blinders on and just say, hey, I'm going to go out here in this kingdom and we're going to build the strongest alliance and we're just going to kind of go do and take whatever we want. But the repercussions of that is that you're usually going to lose activity. You're not going to see as many alliances in the future seasons. It'll eventually become a smaller and smaller pool. And then will the appetite of the strong alliances be enough to stabilize them at a certain point, or are they going to keep wanting more and more and more, and then eventually having more kind of internal alliance struggles and internal family or union struggles where maybe they start now saying, well, because there's no one left to attack or no one that's really fighting us, let's go and start setting up fights or just go and attack these other alliances that we have these unions or these friendly relationships with because we want more PvP. So hopefully it doesn't kind of turn into the whole like server 5 IK situation, which again, for those of you that played that game, right, they were just known as just a war server. Like you went there to just PvP 24/7, like 7-Eleven. I mean, it was cool. It was really awesome to see them last as long as they did. And I actually view them as a very successful PvP server, like a true PvP server where it's just war all day, every day. But yeah, so that is it for me. I hope, man, I'm at 20 minutes now, but there was a lot to talk about because there's just a lot that's going on in server 2. So again, and I'm sure I didn't cover everything, but I hope I at least gave you guys some decent insight into what's going on. And for those of you that enjoy the storylines, you enjoy the drama, you like seeing the stats, I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, when I talk about these things, I like to try and be as objective and neutral as I possibly can. So that's why you don't really ever hear me saying like, oh, how dare they attack my alliance, right? Because I just don't think that's a realistic approach to go into these games with. It's just good to have a healthy understanding that anything and everything can happen. And so that's really what I try to come from my POV or my perspective on when I'm touching on these things. With that being said, that is it for me. If you are in server 2, if you have something that you want to comment on, you're just, again, you're enjoying the juicy bits that I'm giving, please let me know, right? I'd love to hear your feedback, your thoughts, your storylines if you're in the kingdom, in those comments down below. That is it for me. As always, until next time, I'll catch you later.